Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to an all-new edition of War Week Radio Afternoon Chats. Guys, my name is Joseph Herron, and we're being joined by Grand Rapids heavyweight, Mr. Brian Dancler. Brian, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I tell you what, brother, before we get started, I do have to remind everyone that this show is always brought to you by Fightsaga.com. Guys, for all the latest boxing news, please go frequent Fightsaga.com on the daily. But Brian, okay, let's just get right to it. What did you think of the press conference yesterday between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder? Did it meet your expectations, or were you a bit disappointed?
I was disappointed, but I figured that it was going to be like that. Especially with Wilder did an interview that got cut off because he was, talking about race and stuff like that. And I just think that, when you fight somebody 3 times, what more could you possibly say or do? It's like, I think both fighters are just like, we done fought twice already. They just ready. Both of them ready to just get in the ring and fight each other.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is a heavyweight fight. We've already heard the pre-fight banter twice before. Do we really need it a third time? Well, apparently, according to the media who was there in attendance, boy, they went nuts when Deontay Wilder went silent. He had this to say. He said, look, enough said. First of all, he thanked his team. He thanked his strong legal team, or else we wouldn't have been there watching the press conference yesterday. And he said this, quote, look, enough said. Time to cut off his head. Come July 24th, there will be bloodshed, end quote. And he refused. He put on his headphones, started grooving to some music, and he let, a much more eloquent speaker like Malik Scott say everything for him, field every single question, and make every retort to the media after the press conference was in attendance. What did you think of Deontay Wilder going silent? I have mixed thoughts, brother, but let's hear what you had to say.
I think that it was a good thing in a sense for him letting Malik Scott, who's more articulate, he thinks things through a lot more. I think he's a better speaker than Deontay Wilder. I think Deontay Wilder was trying not to get caught up and get too emotional. I believe if he would have fed into the drama and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no telling what would have happened. So I think that he did the right thing. Even in the stare down, when you have Fury brother, they started this. They started.
We'll get to the stare down in just a bit, brother. I just want to get you that we're saving the best for last. We have a lot to discuss.
Yes.
Probably the longest stare down I've ever seen for any fight, not just a heavyweight. Right?
Right.
We'll talk about that later on the show, but I'm sorry, as you were, sir.
I think that that he made the right decision. I also believe that it was Al Heyman and I think PBC and Fox and all that. I think they told him to less is better in his case. Like, don't bring up, the glove situation and all that shit, just be quiet.
Well, that's what I thought initially, but it was reported by Lance Pugmire this morning and he didn't name drop. He just said a PBC executive. And he quoted him saying, quote, these people all came here to hear from you. Kind of chewing his ass a little bit, right?
Yeah.
He said this, quote, these people all came to hear from you. Believe me, all this goes by very quickly. There'll come a day when no one will care what you have to say, end quote. Apparently this was not devised, the strategy, this going silent strategy by PBC executives. Apparently they wanted him to talk. They wanted him to try and sell this fight. And that's one of the reasons why the media went insane. in attendance. They were genuinely perturbed because
Yeah, I mean, they do deserve the right to ask questions because, like, the fans and the media, those are the guys, that pretty much make the sport.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
here's the reason, right? Because of all of the accusations, and they really haven't had a chance to confront him about this, right? Um, and that's why they felt slighted, because he didn't get a chance to ask him anything about Glovegate, about tampered water, about the firing of Mark Breland, about anything as far as the accusations about the costume, anything, right?
right,
In my opinion, if I were Deontay, and once again, I have a mixed bag of this where I do think it was best to I'm with you. I think it's best to let Malik Scott field the great majority of the questions. If I were Deontay, instead of coming out with nursery rhymes, that sort of thing, I would have just said, look, guys, I said what I said about the glove issue. I stand by what I said, but I'm not going to field any questions about it. Obviously, there was no investigation into it, and it more than likely will never be proven. But I stand by what I said, but this is the last time I'm going to say anything about it. So if you ask me questions, I'm not going to answer them about it. The only thing I'll say or answer questions for is this third fight coming up. That's it. That's the end of it. And let's move forward. If
right.
I were Deontay, I would have said that, but it's shocking, man. I honestly, I think that if he goes quiet about all of this, I mean, I guess you can go by what Mark Twain once said. It's better to keep your mouth shut and appear foolish than open it and remove all doubt.
Right.
Right? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he should have addressed it at least in the outset?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can understand what you're saying. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I believe that maybe he should have been it's really nothing more to discuss. I stand on my accusations. I stand on what I said. And like you said, I'm not gonna answer any questions involving it if it ain't about, the fight itself, So I believe that he should have made one, like you said, one initial statement about it and just put a end to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here's where it's kind of intriguing, and I think Deontay Wilder may have done the right thing here, because Tyson Fury's response is, well, when asked why he thought Deontay Wilder was keeping quiet, he said this, quote, "It shows how weak of a mental person he is and shows how much the beating from the last fight took an emotional and physical effect on his life," end quote. But a lot of his fans they're sticking up for Wilder, saying, you know what? He's just pissed, and this fight is all about vindication and revenge, and there's no need to say anything. I mean, he doesn't want to get emotional, and we like that from Deontay Wilder. Your thoughts on but here's the primary issue, though. Here's the primary point. All of us are coming up with different opinions as to why he stayed quiet, and no one really knows, and they're talking about the fight. Was it a stroke of genius of Deontay Wilder keeping quiet?
I believe it kind of I think it's the opposite. I think the silence is what made Fury and company nervous in the first place. They didn't know what he was doing. They didn't know where his head was at. So I believe silence is golden in this position because he's not going to beat Fury in the banter competition. He's not going to, that's Fury. Fury's excellent at doing that. So I believe that he did the right thing by walking off, not feeding into, I think he did the right thing by, just keeping quiet. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, this is his third and final. This is probably be his final chance. You know what I'm saying? To get his title back and to maybe land a Joshua fight. You know what I mean? And I think he's just focused and he realized that he has a big task ahead of him, and he doesn't want to get too emotional because when you go into a fight, being very emotional. You already know you can't. You have to be thinking clear in the ring. You can't be too emotional going into the fight.
Yep, absolutely. And that's, in my opinion, that's the most troublesome part of all of this. Because if he gets emotionally triggered, just from being in the same room of Deontay Wilder or having to field tough questions? What are his emotions going to be like in the ring, Brian?
He's gonna, and it's like that. Like they say, like when you go in there with emotion, with raw emotion, he's gonna throw the game plan out the window and he's gonna just try to knock Fury's head off.
Yep. Well, they spoke with both trainers before they. And this is what Sugar Hill had to say, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Brian, because you're a fighter. You've been in the ring.
Yep.
This is what Sugar Hill had to say about Tyson Fury. The amount of time me and Tyson have had together since joining forces hasn't changed anything. Our chemistry has always been there. The only thing that's changed is that over that time of spending 18 months together, Tyson now has the power to knock a man out with one punch. I'm glad he's added that kind of power to go with his boxing skills and IQ. He now has that one punch knockout power. He just needs to land that one punch, end quote. Do you believe it, Dancler?
Hell no, I don't. I'm just going to put it like this. Last time, it wasn't so much of the power. It was where the shot landed. It was the placement. You could see that Fury was going for the back of the ear, the back of the head. He was trying to do it the first fight. So that's like a mind game that Sugar's trying to play, maybe boost Tyson's ego up. You know what I'm saying? Like they had to throw the towel in. He couldn't get Deontay Wilder off his feet. He couldn't land that one that put his lights out the last fight. So Tyson Fury's never been. He's a big man. Can he land that one shot and put somebody out? If it's placed right, yes. Is it likely? No. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not who he is. He's a big fella, yes, you know what I'm saying? And he could, anything could happen in heavyweight division, but yeah, I think Sugar was just, that I think that's a load of bullshit.
I concur, my friend. And Mohammed joins us today. Thank you, brother, for listening in. God bless you. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your afternoon today. Salute, Joseph. Always a pleasure to catch the show. Thank you, brother. Fury made an interview after the press conference with one of the media, and he mentioned that Wilder has tremendous power and he could very well catch him. Your thoughts? Look, Mohammed, thank you, brother. And of course, this is what we said on last week's afternoon chat. Despite everyone counting out Wilder in a third fight, which is absolutely insane, guys, he's still the biggest puncher in boxing, and he's still the number 3 ranked heavyweight for a reason. With his athleticism and power alone, right? And his underrated, unappreciated boxing skills, I'll say that. Yep. He can knock out anyone on any given day. Guys, that's why we watch heavyweight boxing. That's why it's the glamour division of boxing. Regardless of style matchup, Deontay Wilder can knock anyone out in any given time. With that said, so can Tyson Fury. Guys, look at his box rec. This guy has, a good percentage of knockouts as well for a reason. He's almost 6'10", and he claims he's going to come in weighing close to 300 pounds this time, and he's going to be looking for the knockout. Brian Dancler, do you believe it?
Well, when Fury said, he looks slimmer than he was, the last fight right now. So I don't believe he's going to be close to 300. I think he's going to be, he was like 270, 280 last time. I think that's going to be I think he's going to come in around that weight. But one thing I'll say is that I noticed that Deontay looks leaner than he was last fight. And I believe that, that's the best thing for him. I didn't understand why he packed on that weight last time, because speed and athleticism is the thing he has in his favor. So I think he should stick to that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You've been knocking guys out weighing 209, 212, 213. So stick to it.
Indeed. Very good points, brother. And guys, if you've counted out Deontay Wilder, and I always stress this whenever analyzing any matchup or any fight, go to the handicappers, go to the racing sports books right now. Once again, just looking at the second fight, you would think the odds would be wider. But listen to this. Right now, Fury is the betting favorite at a minus 275, not even a 3-1 betting favorite. Wilder is a 2.5 betting underdog, right? He's only at a plus 250. That means he has almost a 30% chance to pull off the upset. When you consider how one-sided the second fight was, that's astronomical. And listen to this and this is what we do, guys, at Fightsaga. We actually try to look at the trends in terms of how people are betting. Over the last 7 days, almost 50% of all bets have been placed on Wilder to get the win, while Fury has only seen around 35% of the bets. Here's the amazing part. 16.5% of the bets have been placed on a draw. What do you think of that, Dancler?
I can see it happening, but Deontay Wilder is he's a live underdog. And I'm definitely going to put, I'm just being honest.
Of course.
It's a good way, hey, you probably will see a return with that right hand, you know what I'm saying? And it's a safe bet. I don't blame people because that's what I was going to do. I'm going to check out the odds. I was going to check out the odds and I was going to put like $100 or $50 on Wilder. You know what I'm saying? Because in my opinion, like I tell people, I play sports my whole life and it's hard to beat a team or an individual 3 times.
Yep.
So
that's very, very insightful.
And with that, go ahead.
Especially someone who punches and is as hard as Wilder and as athletic as Wilder. Can Fury pull off the hat trick? Can he defeat him 3 times? I know the first fight was ruled a draw, but most ringside observers believe that Fury deserved to get the decision. Regardless, can he defeat Deontay Wilder 3 times?
And I try to tell people, the game Fury is good at talking. But he does say a lot of jibber jabber. He does say a lot of, shit that he contradicts himself a lot. And in my opinion, he very well is worried about this fight.
As he should be.
Yes, which is the reason, he tried to go straight to AJ. You know what I'm saying? And, I understand, you know what I mean? But if he honestly believed that this fight was a walk in the park, it would have been signed and delivered to us. I believe Fury knows the task at hand, and I think he knows that Wilder is going to be ready for the roughhousing. I wouldn't be surprised if you seen Wilder fighting dirty next fight. So I think that this is, Wilder is going to try to inflict a lot of damage on Fury. And one thing we seen from the last fight is Wilder don't mind, going out on the shield.
Well, absolutely, and that's the way most fighters. I mean, I don't think I've ever spoken with a fighter that has said otherwise, especially one as proud as Deontay Wilder, right?
Yeah.
But if you read between the lines, Dancler, Malik Scott dropped a huge note on what to expect from Deontay Wilder in the ring. He said this, quote, Deontay has made the mental adjustments. All I needed was a receptive athlete. He's already made the adjustments to do whatever I need him to do in the ring. I only see this fight going one way. If you just allow Fury to do what he wants, he'll do way more than what you want. I have no doubt that Deontay will become 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, and it'll come by way of knockout, end quote. What did you get from that? Because you stated as much when I asked for, Wilder's strategy, what you would do if you were training Wilder. And he's basically saying the same thing, right? What are your thoughts on this? Is this the best strategy against a guy like Tyson Fury?
Hell yeah. Like the first fight, I think it's going to be similar to the first fight, but now Wilder's a lot smarter. I believe that I think that loss, he's very prideful, but I think that loss really kind of humbled him, and it made him, be like, okay, maybe what everybody's saying is true. I have to add some tools to my arsenal to disguise this right hand. You know what I'm saying? And I also think he made a mistake by trying to be on the back foot and box, but he can, like we've seen him against other fighters fight brilliantly on the back foot, and he was first still being on the
Yep.
back foot against his best
Berman
performance to
Stivern.
me was the first Berman Stivern fight.
That's it.
And you have to be first against a guy like Fury. So Malik Scott is absolutely right, but I think they're going to keep Fury on his back foot.
Well, this is what Fury had to say about Deontay Wilder and how he, well, what we talked about, he often allows his emotions to get in the way of strategy. Tyson Fury said this, quote, "No matter how much that Malik teaches Deontay, Wilder is going to do what Wilder is going to do. In a real fight, he's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to always revert to him straight back to type. Mark my word, 100%. As soon as he hits me with that first right hand, he's going to see that and say, I'm going to take his head off very emotionally." End quote.
I believe that's a contradicting statement because last fight, even though Wilder was getting caught with big right hands from Fury, did you ever see Wilder deter from their game plan? He still tried to box. He still was trying to go to the body. He was trying to intelligently outbox Tyson Fury to me, which was a mistake. But I never seen him, I never seen him do what he did in the first fight. He still didn't go out there and do the windmill. He didn't go out there and just try to, he tried to be calculated. So I believe that he can stick to a game plan.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the strategy that they devised for him in the second fight was just the worst possible game plan you could have for someone like Tyson Fury. Yeah, and honestly, I think all of his success in eventually giving away rounds and eventually stopping Luis Ortiz with that one punch really helped formulate that ultimate bad strategy for him, right? That's not the case this time. He understands, boy, he's going to have to give Tyson Fury something else to think about, and he's going to have to get off first.
Yeah, I think he was trying to take, the fight into the later rounds. You know what I'm saying? And I think Fury and them was aware of that. That Wilder is a slow starter, and they took advantage of it. They jumped on him early. I think this time, Malik Scott has been working on him starting faster, just being more aware and just being first, and they also added, instead of pulling straight back, I see he's trying to cut angles. It's just little simple things that he needs to do to make that fight a competitive fight and give himself a chance to win.
Well, even though Deontay Wilder didn't say anything in front of the mainstream media in attendance, he did say this to PBC, and I was sent a press release early this morning, so I'll read from it. He said, quote, "A lot of things are going to be different in this fight. On July 24th, the world is going to see, we're going to reveal everything that we've been working on. I didn't feel any way about Fury trying to negotiate another fight. We knew we were in the right, and we knew they couldn't run. Silence is golden. I've been happy and even happier in my time off. I've had time to spend with my family, and now I feel completely rejuvenated and ready to go. I've been training nonstop during the pandemic, and I've been building. All this time between fights is going to be good for me and bad for him. I've had nothing but time to progress. Whatever he does on July 24th, Malik and I will have an answer for it. I'm training very hard and my mind is very violent. I'm ready to go." End quote. What say you, Dancler?
Well, I agree. I've told people that the extended time off helped Deontay Wilder. It's to his advantage. People say you can't teach your old dog new tricks, and I think that's one of the most bullshit statements ever. I believe that it's up to him. Like, he started boxing late. Fury has been boxing since he's a kid. So there's really not much more that Fury can learn. Somebody can tell him that he doesn't know. I think Wilder, time off definitely benefits Wilder more. I think that's why Fury wanted to hurry up and have the fight, because I think Fury knew the more time Wilder had to recover, the more time they could sit up there and watch film, and the more time they could game plan and get him prepared to face Tyson Fury.
I'll say this, and these are going to be my final thoughts, because We know the Grand Rapids heavyweight is a little busy today, so we have to make it an abridged version of the afternoon chat. But my final thoughts on this, guys, it's going to come down to both fighters' mentality getting into the ring. I don't care how well you prepare. If you're not brimming with confidence and do not believe in your heart 100% that you're going to win, you're not. You're not going to win. So we'll see, guys. It's all going to come down to fight time. We'll see how confident Deontay Wilder is when he steps in the ring. And here's that first bell. Tyson Fury, boy, he is a real enigma. And so far, no one's been able to figure him out. This guy's obviously shown he can take the lead. He can fight on the inside. He can box from mid to long range. That's the biggest problem here I see with Malik and Deontay Wilder. Pick your poison. How do you want Tyson Fury to beat you? Because no one's been able to figure it out yet. He's a chameleon in the ring. Your final thoughts on this before we talk about the Triller situation?
My final thoughts is that I think it's going to be a very good fight. I think it's going to be a bloody fight. And I think that, Fury's going to take a lot of damage in this fight. You know what I'm saying? I think it's going to be a good ass fight, and it's going to be a fight that us fans remember until we expire from this earth. I think that generations to come will still talk about this colossal fight between two giants.
Peter, thank you for joining us. Peter says, Mr. 616, great info, 100%, brother. Thank you for joining us, Peter. So, guys, let's shift gears. Let's talk about Triller. Moving the event from that was supposed to take place this Saturday in Miami at the Marlins ballpark. Now it's been postponed. And apparently it's being reported that Teofimo Lopez has contracted COVID-19. Here's a statement, right? I'll read the official statement from Teofimo Lopez. And you've heard Teofimo Lopez talk. And I'm going to ask you, Brian, does this sound like it was made by Teofimo Lopez? He says, quote, "By now you've heard the news that I've had to withdraw from the fight due to COVID. Being a champion means doing hard things, no exceptions, and I choose to keep my fellow athletes safe. I'm devastated to disappoint so many people. I know the sacrifices we have all made to get here. I believe I'm doing the right thing. I don't want to infect anyone. Sport has power. I choose to use my power to be a good example. The most important thing I can do is protect those I love, and I love the sport of boxing and all of the athletes, fans, trainers, my sponsors, and promoters. Thank you, everyone, for your well wishes. I appreciate your support." End quote. Brian, do you believe any of this?
Hell no. I don't. I think that they got cold feet because there's some good fights coming on that weekend. And I think they realized that, they realized that they fighting a losing battle, so they threw the white flag in. You know what I'm saying? They said, let's just, retreat. We'll come, we lost the battle, but we got to come back and try to win the war. They're going to come back another day and try to stage the fight, so that way they'll probably do it on a day that it's no other fights on.
Yep. And here's proof of this, right? Here's proof of this, that it was going to be a financial bloodbath and they just decided to move away from the date. Because Evander Holyfield stepped up and said, hey, I've been training my ass off, and so is Kevin McBride. We'll step in the main event because we know you already have a concert plan. You've got a huge undercard. Let's go through with the event, and we'll please the fans. It'll be the return of the real deal, fighting the last guy to defeat Mike Tyson. And guess what happened? Triller said no. But here's the bad part, right? Let me read George Kambosos, his statement. Quote, "Absolutely devastated. I've been away from my kids for 13 weeks. I flew my pregnant wife over this week to be by my side. I put every bit of my life into this camp with my team. I would have been undisputed champion this weekend. I know it. He knows it. His actions and decisions have affected not only our fight, but everyone involved. pure irresponsibility on your whole side. Our time will come, and I promise you and the world that I'm gonna take you out worse than ever for everything that you've done. You can run, but you can't hide. As hard as it is to comprehend this right now, I'm going to remain focused on the end goal. I will be champion of the world. Thank you to everyone for your support worldwide. End quote. He is pissed and justifiably pissed. Brian, yep. When you're someone who is cutting weight and you're on a schedule and you're peaking at the right time, gosh, what does this do when you postpone the fight till August 14th?
Man, like it's brutal, man. Like that means his body has to endure more punishment. He has to suffer even more. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so I can sympathize. I sympathize with him. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that, Teofimo doesn't have COVID. I've seen interviews like Conor Ben tried to take a picture with him, and they told him that the photographers told him to take the mask off, and he wouldn't take the mask off. Teofimo Lopez wouldn't take his mask off. So everywhere I see, he has that mask on. So I highly doubt that he caught COVID.
Well, we talked about this last week, that this was going to be a financial disaster. So it's no surprise to me. Obviously, guys, we're not stupid. Fans aren't stupid. They can see between the lines, and we'll see how it ends up. August 14th, though, oh boy, you've got and you were right on the money. That wear and tear that these brutal camps take on a fighter's body. Oof. I feel bad for his wife because she's got to hear all of this.
Kambosos is a big 135 pounder.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the taller guys. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I understand. I sympathize with him, man. But I think this is going to add more fuel to the fire. And, I don't think he's going to beat Teofimo Lopez. But if you don't believe in yourself, then who will? You can't go into a fight thinking you're going to lose. So, so I expect him to say everything he's saying.
That's it. And I tell you what, before we go, we'll answer one more question. This is from our buddy, Vladimir Fonseca. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, brother. Good afternoon, Joseph in 616. I have a question. If Deontay Wilder wins and he can't make the fight happen against Anthony Joshua, just like in the past, who should Wilder fight?
I think he has, if he can't get AJ financially, Andy Ruiz.
Well,
or Dillian White.
He's got the WBC, right? He'll have the WBC. Okay, first of all, yeah, you're right. He has to answer to his mandatory, right? But that's not going to be immediate. You've got time to get a voluntary. So you're right. It could be Andy Ruiz, or listen to this. It could be the winner of Frank Sanchez versus Efe Ajagba, or it could be the winner of Adam Kaunaki and Robert Helenius. What are your thoughts? Who matches up best against Wilder?
I think that, to me, I want to see him versus Efe Ajagba. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like Wilder I feel like Wilder would knock him out because Fa is kind of, he's robotic. He's very robotic. He has a nice right hand, but he's very robotic and he's stiff. I think Deontay Wilder's too fast, mobile, and agile for him. I believe that Frank Sanchez reminds me of Luis Ortiz. I think, with his boxing IQ, I think he matches up real good. But I have yet to see him take a hard shot. So I need to see how that chin is.
Yep, and Vladimir agrees with you. He said he would choose Dillian White or Andy Ruiz. Thank you for your question and your comment, Vladimir. Thank you for joining us. Guys, why isn't anyone mentioning? Now, if Wilder wins, that means it's 1-1-1. 2 wins and a draw. Why isn't anyone mentioning if this fight is successful as Bob Arum claims it's going to be? He said this yesterday, that he believes this fight is going to be the biggest success of the trilogy. He thinks it's going to make more money than both previous fights combined, end quote. Guys, if this is a financial success, don't be surprised if you see number 4.
Oh yeah, I could see that happening. I definitely can see that happen.
But look, guys, in a perfect world, we love this tournament, how it's playing out. Wilder versus Fury in the semis. Usyk versus Joshua in the semis. Winner to mate in the finals in December in Saudi Arabia. Okay, guys, let's hope that plays out that way. But if this fight is indeed a success and doesn't lose money like the first 2, yeah, I believe we may see a 4th if Wilder wins. Those are my final thoughts. All right, brother, do you have any parting shots for our listening audience today, Brian?
Nope. Just go subscribe to Warwick Radio. Check out Joseph Herron. Make sure you're on Facebook. Go to try to join Royalty Boxing Talk. We love to have you. It's a good group. Versatile, diverse. You know what I'm saying? And we welcome, all fans. Just be respectful.
Indeed. Very well said. Thank you for joining us, Brian, today. Guys, on behalf of Mr. Brian Dancler, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War Week Radio. Have an excellent day, everybody.